Good morning, Shana Tova, a happy and healthy new year to all. Thank you for joining us. I am thrilled to be able to mark the home stretch of our Yom Kippur observance this year and the end of our 10-day New Year celebration. It is a real honor that you've chosen Kol Hadash for this. You could have attended a synagogue anywhere in the world, on these services at least, and the fact that you've chosen to mark the holiday with us is a very special honor for us. We mark the end of Yom Kippur with a service this morning, with a family service in the afternoon, and a memorial service beginning at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. But our opening song tonight, this morning, is a celebration of feeling together. There is an irony that we sing, Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad, behold how good it is to shevet, to sit, to dwell together. And yet we are not physically together. At the same time, we are emotionally together. We are drawing our attention to the same things. And so we are together in a less tangible way, but in a powerful way nonetheless. And so I invite you to enjoy the voices of our choir, joined by the magic of technology, singing Hine ma tov. Integrity is our sense of self, self-honesty, self-reflection, self-harmony. We are the true judge. Yom Kippur is our moment of consideration when we study our words and behavior and ask the hard questions. Have I been true to my values? Did I stand up for who I am and for what I believe, or did I betray my integrity? Can I rebuild from human failing to human achievement? To be true to ourselves, we must consider who we are and who we may become. We do not choose the problems we face, but we do choose how we respond. Our challenges define our choices, and our choices define us. The more power we find to direct our lives, the more courage we have to change ourselves. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over?
Gevurah,
At times, our ancestors overemphasized human limitations and failings. Ashamnu, we are guilty. Bagadnu, we have betrayed, proclaims the traditional confession. Our humanism includes both realistic assessment and positive reinforcement. Reminding ourselves of right actions can support our better behavior. In this responsive reading written by Rabbi Avi Weiss, I find it most meaningful for us to say the English together as I lead with the Hebrew. And so I'll begin with the Hebrew phrase, and then we will say together, wherever we are, the English response. Ahavnu, we have loved. Berachnu, we have blessed. Gadalnu, we have grown. Dibarnu yofi, we have spoken positively. He'elinu, we have raised up. Vachasnu, we have shown compassion. Zeraznu, we have acted enthusiastically. Chamalnu, we have been empathetic. Tipachnu emet, we have cultivated truth. Ya'atznu tov, we have given good advice. Kibadnu, we have respected. Lamadnu, we have learned. Machalnu, we have forgiven. Nichamnu, we have comforted. Salalnu, we have been creative. Orarnu, we have stirred. Pa'alnu, we have worked. Tzadaknu, we have been just. Kivinu, we have hoped. Rihamnu, we have been merciful. Shakadnu, we have given full effort. Tamachnu, we have supported. Tikannu, we have repaired. And may we do the same in the year just begun.
What do we truly believe? What do we value? Humanistic Jews value truth. Truth about the world around us always changes, and our history is never what it used to be. Our quest for truth requires discipline and flexibility. Finding and speaking and living our truth provides a special dignity, the dignity of personal integrity. Humanistic Jews value their Judaism. We are links in an ancient chain of culture and heritage. Creating a Judaism that speaks to us and to our children is our mission. We celebrate Judaism best when we celebrate it with our whole being, our hearts and minds.
Humanistic Jews value freedom. We have the liberty and the responsibility to run our own lives. Thinking for ourselves and coming to our own conclusions is our way of life. We gather together not to conform to a doctrine, but to celebrate our shared ideals. We believe in people, we value people.
קולות בלבב בנימה, נפש יהודי הומייה, ולפתי מזרח קדימה, עין לציון סופיה, עולו עבדי להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים. כל עוד בלבב בנימה, נפש יהודי הומייה, ולפאתם מזרח קדימה, עין לציון סופיה. עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים.
In a tradition that views Torah as sacred and values the study of Torah beyond all else, we consider with utmost care what is Torah and what it means to honor it. The rabbi said, turn it, for all is contained in it. We turn and we turn, but not all is in it. We find we have more to add. We cannot read all our truths into a place where they have never been. So we invent and inscribe, and we ask, can new texts too become sacred? Can our own voices become Torah? And throughout the process, we ask what it means to us to keep on wrestling with tradition. How do we know when we have wrestled enough? How do we know when it is time to let go? Time to free ourselves for something new? We ask these questions here today in the context of our service because questioning in pursuit of our deepest truths is itself a form of Torah. We ask our questions, fully realizing that well-meaning people among us may differ, perhaps vehemently, in their answers. It is not our purpose to be divisive, but we are already of many minds. Silencing the concerns will not diminish them. It will not make them go away. Dare we ask these questions? Dare we not ask them? If not now, when?
In our congregation, we learn from our ancient wisdom, and we also learn from the wisdom of the Jewish people in modern times. We read from Torah last evening, and today we read from a composition of 2020, which speaks to our moment with echoes of tradition. If you are comfortable doing so where you are, I invite you to rise as we remove our Torah scroll from the ark in a tribute to the wisdom of our ancestors and of our contemporaries. One of the most famous passages of the High Holiday Liturgy is the pious poem Unetane Tokef, which describes a book of life and death written on Rosh Hashanah and sealed on Yom Kippur. We've referenced it many times throughout these high holidays. In this book of life are listed all those who will live and who will die and how they will die, who by fire and who by water, who by beast and who by famine. The poem promises that prayer, righteousness, and repentance can save us from being written and sealed among those who will suffer and die. This is why traditional Yom Kippur greetings include Gemar Chatima Tova, may you be sealed for good. But is it so? And for whom? Imani Chapman, who is both Black and Jewish, has taken this poem as an inspiration for our Jewish literature reading this morning. It's titled Unetane Tokef for Black Lives. When this poem cries for justice, it challenges us, our society, any gods there may be, the universe itself, to make account for untold and seldom told suffering and death. But the more they are told, the more they will be heard. Each day we hazard our Black lives in the court of the white world. We know our worth, yet the white world is judge self-appointed. We pass before you to be counted. 12.5 million bodies stolen. 1.8 million mercifully avoided your shores. Stolen shores, stolen land. 10.7 million arrived unsafely, times 401 years, times infinite human indignities, times 3/5 of a human being. We now number 47.8 million. In the morning it is written, and by curfew it is sealed. Who shall die while jogging? Ahmaud Arbery. Who shall die while relaxing in the comfort of their home? Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson. Who shall die while seeking help after a car crash? Jonathan Farrell, Renisha McBride. Who shall die while holding a cell phone? Stephon Clark. Who shall die while decorating for a party? Claude Reese. Who shall die while leaving a party? Jordan Edwards, Sean Bell. Who shall die while enjoying music? Jordan Davis. Who shall die while selling music, trying to make a way out of no way? Alton Sterling. Who shall die while sleeping? Ayanna Jones. Who shall die while worshiping their Lord? The Charleston Nine. Who shall die while for a traffic violation? Sandra Bland. Who shall die while coming from the store? Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin. Who shall die while playing cops and robbers? Tamir Rice. Who shall die while lawfully carrying a weapon? Philander Castile, Freddie Gray. Who shall die while on the shoulder of the road with car problems? Corey Jones, Terrence Crutcher. Who shall die in the first hours of the new year? Oscar Grant. Who shall die while shopping at Walmart? John Crawford. Who shall die while cashing a check in peace? Yvonne Smallwood. Who shall die while reading a book in their own car? Keith Scott. Who shall die while taking a walk with their stepfather? Clifford Glover. Who shall die while reaching for their wallet? Amadou Diallo. Who shall die while running away? Walter Scott. Who shall die while asking a cop a question? Randy Evans. Who shall die while begging for their life, a breath? Eric Garner, George Floyd. Who shall die by the effects of supremacy, greed, and apathy? Who by beast indeed? But repentance, prayer, and charity temper judgment's severe decree. But repentance, prayer, and charity avert judgment's severe decree? But turning, connection, and giving these return us to our God? Whose repentance? Whose prayer? Whose charity? Temper, please temper. Temper already, temper. For sins against God, the Day of Atonement brings forgiveness. For sins against one's fellow man, the Day of Atonement brings no forgiveness till he has become reconciled with the fellow man he wronged. The Day of Atonement brings no forgiveness till he has become reconciled with the fellow man he wronged. When will you atone? How will you atone? For you, like us, will be judged. You, like us, will return to dust. I invite us to rise as we return our Torah scroll to its ark.
All people try and fail. The wise learn to forgive and try again. We can be too slow to forgive others. We are long to remember injuries and short to forget assistance. Anger and memory have their place, and forgiveness does not require forgetting. We forgive by choosing not to avenge, by being open to second chances. Forgiving others brings us peace.
We can be too quick to forgive ourselves. We celebrate our successes and quickly explain away our failures. Dwelling on our shortfalls is not healthy, but neither is whitewashing them. Self-forgiveness requires honesty about the sides of ourselves we would rather not face. Forgiving ourselves brings us peace. Let us pause for a moment of true forgiveness. Let us forgive others, and let us forgive ourselves.
My name is Herb Levine, and I'm reading the title poem from my book, Words for Blessing the World. The poem is called Blessed Are You, World. In the archives of Kibbutz Beit Hashita, I discovered forgotten handwritten notes for a Passover Seder from 1927. Instead of the Kiddush, the author wrote, Blessed are you, Kibbutz. In his footsteps, I widen the blessing circle and say, Blessed are you, world, to praise your fragile, complex beauty. If you call the earth your mother who birthed you in pain from the wombs of the mothers from Eve until now, if you call the world your friend who upholds you, whether in a day of trouble or of joy, if you call the universe your helpmeet who gives strength to both your weakness and your might, then join with me in these songs and we'll sing together in a world that fills our springs with blessings. Planet orbiting the sun from time's beginning till its end, planet blue, green, and white, planet covered with water and land and sky, planet made of forests, lakes and seas, fields and sandy beaches, planet Earth that we have seen from space, complete and alive before our astonished eyes. When I ask my friend how he's doing, he answers me, thank God. And he would respond thus even if he were suffering great distress. I think, but don't respond to him, thanks, earth, from which I came at my birth. During my life, I have grown a sensitive soul, but I will return to the earth at my death without a soul and without pain. thanks to the embrace of the earth. Like the enthusiastic kibbutznik who insisted on making his time new, let us make new what's old and make holy what's new, and join what's called secular to what's called holy and what's called material to what's called spiritual, until the gulf between them disappears. They say that our life began through a crack in the ocean floor, through which heat rose and still rises from the molten core of the earth and catalyzed the salty waters, giving birth to the amino acids. In them, the history of life in the sea, on land, and in the air. The psalmist sings, "With you is the source of life." Every day I too acknowledge the source of life that still enlivens my breath. From Einstein and his students, I learned that the elements in me were forged in the same furnace as the stars. From other great ones, I've learned to sit, breathe, pay attention with watchful eyes to a world filled with glory and wonders, like me, like you, and the stars. Oh, blessed world, you give us each day visions and problems to solve and to praise.
We learn little from spoken rules and written advice. Words can inspire us, but rarely do they transform our lives. We learn from people, from the living example of living teachers, a father's integrity, a mother's warm encouragement, of famous leaders' determination, people enter our lives and guide us by what they do, not by what they say. They embody the ideal and make it real enough for us to understand. Memory keeps alive the example of great men and women who taught us through action. It also preserves the behavior of more modest guides who touched our lives in simpler ways. We too shall be examples in a future world that we shall never visit. We are teaching others for a tomorrow that is beyond our grasp. Our actions will move others long after our words are forgotten. We are the children of love. We are the heirs of generous hope. Parents and peers, family and friends are forever joined to us by bonds of affection and mutual experience. The pain of separation never completely disappears, nor does the fond memory of their lives. They are constantly with us, even when we do not think of them. Their influence brings us here today, that we may honor them by sharing our memories silently as a community of caring friends.
יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם אז עברו בינם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר, כאשר הם אז מאמינם אור בתוכנו. אורות אליהם מבטיחים בחשכות הליל. הם שומרים לאדם את הדרך, את הדרך. הם שומרים לאדם את הדרך, את הדרך. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light. Long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. We remember as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. We remember.
Hillel was one of the most famous teachers in Jewish history, but we do not know that much about him. A Babylonian Jew by birth, he came to Jerusalem to study Torah and Jewish law before the year 0 and became the preeminent scholar of his generation, the end of the Pharisees and beginning of the rabbis. Hillel's name has been used for college campus organizations, Jewish day schools, synagogues, even an Israeli organization that supports people leaving ultra-Orthodoxy for the wider world. Hillel was known for his patience, his love of peace, his humility, and especially for his turn of phrase. It is ironic then that one of his most famous phrases celebrates the virtue of impatience. If not now, when? In traditional Jewish thought, patience was absolutely a virtue. From the destruction of the Jerusalem temple until its future rebuilding in the age of the Messiah, Jews were to wait, and wait patiently. Recall the scene near the end of Fiddler on the Roof when, spoiler alert, they are expelled from the shtetl. The tailor asks the Rebbe, "We've been waiting for the Messiah all our lives. Wouldn't now be a good time for him to come?" The Rebbe smiles and says, "We'll just have to wait for him someplace else." When you think about it, it's good to be the Messiah. When you finally arrive, everyone you care about is happy to see you. You get to fulfill all those promises made by priests and prophets and rabbis in Scripture to reward the righteous and punish the wicked. You, as the Messiah, are the only and final court of appeal, and all judgments are definitely final. Best of all, no matter when you arrive, no matter how long people have waited, the Messiah is always on time, because your arrival must be the way it was meant to be. The patience of Job was not just for Job. In fact, Job actually spends several chapters complaining, which somehow feels more Jewish. Patience was for all Jews to wait for the end of the exile, the Messianic age, and supernatural redemption. But waiting has never been good enough for some. They stubbornly have insisted that people actually have a role to play in their own deliverance. Sometimes they tried to force the coming of the Messiah or influence the universe toward redemption through mystical thought and practice. With the dawn of the secular age and organized Jewish political activity, many movements acted to improve the lot of the Jewish people. Sometimes it actually involved moving, fleeing Tsarist oppression to freedom elsewhere in the world, including in America. Sometimes it was a secular messianism, working for a glorious revolution in society, economy, and values that would make anti-Semitism a relic of the bourgeois capitalist past. Sometimes it was an identity revolution, defining and celebrating Jewishness as an ethnic, even a national identity. The modern state of Israel was born from Jewish people of many nations, Ashkenazim, Sephardim, Ethiopian Jews, and many more, who were tired of waiting for a Messiah to save them. They decided to save themselves. They lived out the challenging reality of Hillel's timeless question, if not now, when? This Jewish New Year, we have explored questions from Jewish culture with universal significance. Hillel's challenge is perhaps the most apt at this moment. Too many people are too fed up with too many problems, and they are done being told the problem is just with them or that patience will work this time, again. The desire for rapid change has been articulated in many ways. The fierce urgency of now, justice delayed is justice denied. There are always clever reasons for not now. We can't change too fast. We don't know all the consequences. Some of us like the status quo. You can't change this issue without dealing with all these other problems. Change itself is scary. I remember an amusing children's book when my children were young about the definition of in a minute. The youngest child's parents and siblings are too busy for him, and they put him off with in a minute, in a minute. So he eventually decides in a minute means never. What makes these clever reasons for not now challenging is that sometimes they are true, yet they are not enough to stop change. In the late 1990s, in the Humanistic Judaism movement, a new melody was developed for our old song, Eifo Ori, which was originally written in the 1970s. The new melody was more upbeat, in a major key, easier for audiences to sing along or to play with a guitar. And yet, when the new melody was introduced in some of our older communities, a number of the longtime members said, I like the old melody, and after all, this is the way we've always done it. And I've always responded, of all Jewish communities, in humanistic Judaism, we should never rely only on the line, this is the way we've always done it. We've changed so much else. There may have been a reason decades ago for the way it was done. But in our own days, we need to reevaluate that reasoning and decide if it operates now. It is true that sometimes the answer to if not now, when is in 6 months or after we have more information. It took Kol Hadash Humanistic Congregation over 3 years of study, discussion, and planning to change our dues system to include a contributing membership with a self-chosen financial commitment. We were not the first congregation to do something like this. We studied the data carefully, and since we changed a few years ago, more have followed us in this small-scale Jewish communal revolution. Now, when we started the process 6 years ago, if we had been asked, if you aren't changing the Kol Hadash membership model now, then when? Our answer was, not now, but soon. And we kept our word. The cliche version of Jewish questioning is, why do you always answer a question with a question? Do I? For problems in Jewish law, is the issue under debate happening during the day or at night? Is it on Shabbat or on an ordinary day? Who is doing it? And where are they doing it? And why are they doing it? So it is not exactly evading the first question to ask more questions. When we say, if not now, when, we can ask what counts as now. Does now mean to start the process or to finish it? Does now mean to open the topic or to conclude the discussion? And to have a now, there has to have been a then, a time before now. And if you want to look up the Spaceballs "were it now" routine, you can do that on your own. We cannot change the past, though we can change how we understand our past. Slavery in the Jewish tradition and the American tradition, 2,500 years of Jewish history with almost no women clergy until the last 50 years, narratives of national establishment that ignored other peoples present and rooted in the same land. I cannot change my own personal history as a child of the 1980s who enjoyed television's Schoolhouse Rock video about American westward migration. It was so crowded on the East Coast, they sang, we needed elbow room. The way was opened up for folks with bravery. There were plenty of fights to win land rights, but the West was meant to be. It was our manifest destiny. The trappers, traders, and the peddlers, the politicians and the settlers, they got there any way they could. The gold rush trampled down the wilderness, the railroad spread across from east to west, and soon the West was opened up for good. Notice anyone missing from that story? Or how we might tell it differently today? Schoolhouse Rock's immigration song, called The Great American Melting Pot, is overwhelmingly Eurocentric, never mentioning Native Americans or Latinos who were already here, or any Asian immigration, or heaven forbid, African kidnapping. Quote, America was founded by the English, but also by the Germans, Dutch, and French. The video's cartoon images of non-whites will shock you, as they shocked me when watching them again 30 years older. As a child, I enjoyed these videos, and I learned both tolerance and stereotypes from them. As part of my maturation, I have unlearned now some of what I learned then. So too for all of us, and for the interlocking societies to which we belong. To understand this moment of now, we have to know what happened then to get to now. We have to learn our real history, even and especially the uncomfortable parts, even and especially from perspectives foreign to our own. Who were the Native Americans who met Columbus, and what did they think of what happened next? How does the American story change if you refocus the narrative on women or on slaves instead? When should we date the beginning of American democracy? 1787 with the writing of the Constitution? 1870 when former male slaves could theoretically vote? 1920 with women's suffrage, at least white women? Or the Voting Rights Act of 1964? Happy 56th anniversary of American democracy? In the same way, we need to tell the story of Jewish national self-determination differently. On one hand, and absolutely true, the forging of a new Israeli identity from a global Jewish diaspora of Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Mizrahi, Ethiopian, and many other Jewish cultures, and the many successes of the startup nation. At the same time, we can understand that creating a Jewish national omelet broke and still breaks many Palestinian eggs. Hillel's aphorism, "If not now," has inspired a Jewish activist organization for Israel-Palestine issues under that name. The group began recently because after 50 years since the Six-Day War, mutual national recognition and genuine peace seemed further away than ever, and the organizers were tired of hearing histories with one side always right and the other always wrong. The activists remain engaged with Israel. After all, criticism is still engagement, but they are motivated to take action now because of their new understandings of what happened then. Hillel's most famous question is actually the last of three questions. As we've seen, there is never only one question. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am for myself alone, what am I? And if not now, when? At one moment, we need to consider our individual needs. We have to be for ourselves. What others may need if I am for myself alone, and how we need their support for our needs, and also the question of when. Hillel's first two questions push us to think from our own perspective and also for the benefit of others if we want them on our side. Today, if we want allies in the fight against anti-Semitism, we should be allies in fights against racism and bias and discrimination. Xenophobia means fear of the stranger. As we heard last night from Exodus 23, in our tradition, you should not oppress the stranger, for you know the spirit of the stranger since you were strangers in the land of Egypt. When we vote or volunteer or work or advocate, if we are for ourselves alone, what are we? Personally, I am a cisgender, heterosexual, married, educated, white man, employed and housed in affluent suburbia. With those demographics, chances are I will personally be okay no matter who wins a particular election. But I do not vote only for me. I vote with compassion and enlightened self-interest for those I care about, for the society I want to see, to treat others as I would want to be treated. I am definitely a values voter. My values are just different from Jerry Falwell, senior or junior. The Jewish New Year began 9 days ago with Rosh Hashanah. These 10 days have been an opportunity for reflection, for self-evaluation, for judgment. Yet that thought and reflection must lead to action. What have we done since that beginning to truly make a new start? What can we do now to address our challenges now and soon? When the problems are many and large, it can be hard to know where to begin. Here are three concrete suggestions. Remember, as a humanistic rabbi, I am not in the commandments business. Suggestion 1, change your priorities from sounding good to doing good. The CEO of Netflix recently confessed that when he used to say family is most important, he was lying. He became aware he was lying as he noticed that he was ignoring his family to do more work over and over again. Think about the issues that you've found challenging or disturbing this year. Then look at where you spend your advocacy and charitable giving and volunteer resources. Do they match? Can they be improved? Are there more effective organizations that focus specifically on the issues you want to address? Don't let yourself get stuck on this is the way we've always done it. Reevaluate and do even more good than before. Suggestion 2, push yourself to do the uncomfortable, even if only once a day to start. Getting in John Lewis's good trouble can be hard to make ourselves do, be it on the streets, in social media, or in private conversation. But if you hear something or see something that needs correcting, push yourself to invest the time, the ego, the energy in pushing back. It is easier to be an anonymous bystander. It is harder to put the spotlight on yourself as an active upstander. The more we push ourselves to do what is uncomfortable but right, the better we will become and the more natural it will be. We might inspire others to do the same by our example. Suggestion 3, find one way you can do something more and then do it. This year, I chose to become a poll worker for the election, to deploy my relative youth and health to fill a need. Fortunately, I have a flexible daily work schedule and an understanding employer. I've thought about doing this for years, since my household follows the Chicago tradition to vote early and vote often, which we interpret as voting in every election. This year pushed me to actually do it. If not now, if not this year, if not at this moment, well, I had no other answer than do it. These 3 suggestions will not change the world. By themselves, changing your priorities, doing the uncomfortable, and doing one thing more will not change your life. We cannot rely on commandments from heaven and cosmic justice and messianic deliverance. So getting ourselves into better habits of doing better is how humanists can meet that basic human need for atonement and self-improvement, the need that Yom Kippur was created to fulfill. For us, the measure of whether a society or a system or an action is good is in the effects it has on human beings in the real world in which we live. And there is no reason to wait if we know that what is not good. If not now, to end suffering. If not now, to push for justice. If not now, to see good be done, then when indeed? These have been our 4 questions this Jewish New Year, which had nothing to do with matzah or reclining. Who am I to confront Pharaoh? Am I my brothers, my sisters, my siblings' keeper? Shall not the judges of the earth do justice? And if not now, when? If these questions have served their purpose, they have opened up new possibilities in your minds and hearts for the new year that will make for new beginnings. None of us are Moses or Abraham or Cain or Hillel. Each of us has our unique opportunity to leave our unique stamp on our small corner of the world. Do not wait, for who knows if this moment will come again, and who can see what will happen after. Think, reflect, consider, and then do. A few announcements to conclude our service today. I want to thank our readers who were recorded in advance, Sheila and Ron Sieber, Dawn Friedman, Marla Davishoff, and Susan Adelson. Our family service continues this afternoon at 2 p.m. I'm sorry, Marla read with Bennett, her son, as well. Yom Kippur family service continues this afternoon at 2 p.m. All ages are welcome, though it's aimed at children ages 5 to 12 and their families. You had to register separately for that Zoom meeting link, so there's still time to do that if you'd like. And our memorial service and concluding service take place at 3:30 p.m. If you're planning on attending the memorial service and are a member of Kol Hadash, you should have received a memorial candle in your gift bag that was given out before the holidays. Please make sure to have that handy and a means to light it. It will be part of our memorial service observance. I'll also encourage you, if you haven't yet done it, to take a selfie of yourself in your Kol Hadash mask and send that picture in so we can create a montage of our families and congregants doing good in the world by wearing their masks. Our donations are open for receiving for a safe place. The flyer was distributed earlier or is available on our website. They will be open from 12:15 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. today after the conclusion of our service at the North Shore Unitarian Church parking lot, 2100 Half Day Road in Deerfield. I hope you have your donations ready to give, and we'll be bringing them by the church parking lot. We'll also be very happy to be out there to wish you a Happy New Year in person. I want to thank all the people who helped make this service possible, but especially our music director, Ellen Apley. Her invaluable assistance through all of our preparation and planning, whether it was from choosing instrumental pieces to coordinating the choir recordings and recording herself with other singers and instrumentalists, it simply could not have been done without her. And also to Ken Burke for his audio remastering and recording, and to Mitch Apley for video and audio expertise as well, and the hours of work that they put in. I do want to thank our choir who gave of their time to record their voices separately, which were then combined. They are Anthony Bellotti, Rick Bolnick, Ken Burke, Shannon Burke, Jessica Fisher, Toby Fisher, Susie Garfield, Melinda Harris, Ron Harris, Rick Hendrickson, David Hirsch, Jonah Hirsch, Joyce Hirsch, Ricky Katz, Emma Kowalenko, Judith Perlman, Sandra Schechner, Lori Schiller, Jim Shepard, Leah Sosowitz, and Sue Tallman. And I'll also thank our soloists who were often singing with the choir as well. This year they included Noah Apley, Melissa Arning, Adrienne Blanks, Laura Burke, Ellen Shepard, and Todd Von Felker. And our instrumentalists, Matt Blanks on piano, John Bailing on guitar, and Paul Vanderwerf on violin and viola. I also want to thank, even though I know they're not listening, Yo-Yo Ma and Natasha Bedingfield and all the other professional musicians who shared their art on YouTube, which enabled us to enjoy it and employ it in our services. This has been a Jewish New Year unlike any other, but I think our experience has been meaningful unlike any other year as well. The seats in this room may be empty, but I know that my heart is very full. And so I wish you a happy and above all, a very healthy new year. And we conclude with our song wishing each other a year of good resolve and a year of peace. L'Shana Tova. For the last time in this new year, I wish you a Shana Tova, a new year of health and happiness. Thank you again for coming.